vast Qinghai Tibetan Plateau. A frozen kingdom. And one of the most extreme places to live on Earth. Surviving here takes resilience. This Tibetan fox has 3 hungry cubs to raise. After months in their underground den, the warmth of summer entices them out into a landscape teeming with life. They've much to learn about their new world. While their resourceful mother must focus on feeding them. It's a full-time job. But if she remains perfectly focused, the plateau will provide everything her growing family needs. Across its 2.5 million square kilometers, all life is interconnected and delicately balanced. Man's ancient respect for nature holds the key to survival on the roof of the world. China, home to 1.4 billion people, with some of the world's most populated cities, and its fastest growing economy. But far from the bright lights, there's another world. One where nature comes first. In 10 new national parks, China's unique wildlife and breathtaking ecosystems are being given unprecedented protection. Safeguarding an enchanted world. Across this vast country, some of the rarest species on Earth are finding sanctuary. Throughout China, people are rising to the challenge of caring for the natural world. Drawing on ancient wisdom to create a lasting harmony between man and nature. Dominating the west of China, the Qinghai Tibetan Plateau is like nowhere else on Earth. Its grasslands are among the biggest on the planet, with some of its tallest mountains, and the largest reserve of fresh water after the poles. A vast ecosystem of global importance. Yet, despite its scale, life here is fragile and in need of protection. Now, ancient beliefs and modern China are working together to preserve this region's unique ecology. At the southern end of the plateau lies Pou d'Azoir, the smallest of the region's 3 national parks, and a hidden jewel. Its ancient forests, gorges, and vast lakes are nourished by the water flowing down from the plateau. Its name translates as the lake that takes you to Shangri-La, a mythical paradise. Its deep sheltered valleys, along with its warm, moist air, have created a microclimate which protects it from the worst of the plateau's weather. And it provides sanctuary for around 30 different endangered species. But there's one creature which for decades was believed extinct: the Yunnan snub-nosed monkey. There are estimated to be only 3,000 of these precious primates in existence. This youngster lives a charmed life. At 1 year old, he is the center of his mother's world. His family are thriving, with 5 adults looking after 10 youngsters. They are high-altitude specialists, living at up to 4,000 meters, higher than any other primate species on Earth. In winter, eating becomes a major preoccupation. Up here, food is scarce, so these monkeys have developed a very unusual diet. Toxic moss and lichens. It's all that's available. So they have evolved with fermenting stomachs similar to a cow's, which eliminate the toxins and extract maximum nutrition. The youngster has worked up an appetite, but he's breaking the most important rule of troop life: stay together. At this altitude, the weather can change without warning. His mother knows the danger. Temperatures can rapidly plummet below 0. Only huddling together stops the youngsters freezing to death. Alone, he has little chance of surviving. A break in the weather could give the youngster a chance to find his mother. He spots the troop in the distance. It was a lucky escape and a lesson learnt. Life in this tough region rarely gives a second chance. For some of the plateau's residents, the only way to survive the winter is to move home and escape the freezing conditions. These Tibetan black-necked crane migrate 1,600 kilometers southwards. A bird of legend, they're said to have descended from the heavens to live below on Earth. These lower altitude lakes are among the last strongholds of this protected species. After a long journey, they re-establish the bond with their partners. Once abundant across the region, their numbers fell dramatically in the 20th century due to loss of precious wetland habitats. It's thought only 10,000 remain. But this winter escape is no holiday. It's still over 3,000 meters above sea level, and food is scarce. Tempers begin to flare. But there is a lifeline. For hundreds of years, the cranes have been welcomed by local villagers, happy to support them when they need it most. Chen Guanghui and her family have been feeding this population for over 30 years.
对我来说，就是跟家人一样的，跟朋友一样的，都很亲近的。
By helping them through the leanest times, she has seen her local population bounce back. From just 200 in the 90s to over 1,400 today. Cranes pair for life, and with full bellies, they reward her kindness with a display of grace and unity.
我没有这个条件，有的话我就要学这个样子跳舞了。
In this unforgiving region, giving nature a helping hand can make the difference between life or death, and has helped save the black-necked crane from extinction. 2,000 meters above, on the top of the plateau, is an extraordinary frozen landscape. The entire plateau is surrounded by mountains. Between the peaks, billions of liters of fresh water are locked up in the ice, making it the equivalent of the Earth's third pole. To safeguard this vital and precious resource, covering over 123,000 square kilometers, Sanjiangyuan, China's largest national park, was established. It's bigger than all China's other 9 national parks put together. Its name means the source of 3 rivers, and the spring melt is when it earns its title. 60 billion cubic meters flow down to fill Asia's great rivers, providing fresh water to more than 1 billion people. For the national park's animals, the arrival of spring is the start of a race against time. The fleeting days of summer are the only opportunity to raise young. The Tibetan foxes are now 4 months old. Almost fully grown, their appetites are enormous. So Mum works full-time trying to feed them. And if they're not begging for food, they're trying to get a game out of her. Pika are the fox's food of choice. These hapless rodents are eaten by almost every predator on the plateau. Millions of them live on the grasslands here, making them one of the foundations of the ecosystem. There's even a family living right next door to the fox's den. But these savvy pika rarely stray far from their burrow, so stealth and surprise is essential. Unfortunately, it's something the cubs have yet to learn. The youngsters are ordered home. Their frustrated mother will have to hunt further afield. Every day of summer is crucial to the survival of her young. But she's not the only mother racing against time. This Tibetan antelope, or chiru, has just given birth. And she's not alone. Over 10,000 females give birth within a few days of each other on Sanjiangyuan's vast grasslands. But there's no time to waste. Predators are gathering, so newborns must be up and running within 15 minutes. Soon these tiny calves will begin an epic migration. A 400-kilometer trek west to their wintering grounds. It's a dangerous journey. In the 1980s, they were relentlessly hunted to meet international demand for their soft, insulating fur called chatouche. Their numbers plummeted from over 1 million to less than 70,000. Although the hunting has been stopped, dangers remain. But the Chiru now have some dedicated guardians. A group of local herdsmen voluntarily got together to protect them. And now the park authorities pay them to do it. Their migration route is full of hazards. The main highway across the plateau must be navigated, as well as the Qinghai-Tibet Railway. Local herdsman Jassar has been looking out for the antelope since he was just 12. As well as escorting the mothers and calves to purpose-built safe crossing points, he must also tackle any livestock fencing that blocks their route. His love for these beautiful and vulnerable animals runs deep.
他估计轮都起码要干起来这个，看这样出发的这些脏的，这个，日到这点剩下的骨上是黑着着。
With the population in recovery and the establishment of the national park, there is hope that one day they could migrate in their millions once more. And Jassar and his team will do all they can to make it happen. As well as the Chiru, there are 102 species of protected animals living in Sanjiangyuan, including one of the world's most elusive felines. The snow leopard is nicknamed the Ghost of the Mountains. Some 1,200 are thought to inhabit the national park. But no one knows for sure. They're so perfectly camouflaged and seldom seen. Hunting in a home range of 150 square kilometers. Despite being one of the plateau's apex predators, they're equally happy with an easy meal. A yak taken from a nearby herd will last this male a week. Snow leopards are solitary and won't tolerate competition. But in this case, he'll make an exception. A female in season is irresistible. But first, they need to gain each other's trust. It's a tense process. They'll spend a few days together. Before going their separate ways. In just over 3 months, this female could have cubs, an important addition to global snow leopard numbers. But these stealthy predators strike fear among the local population, and not only for their own lives. Up here, the human population has traditionally depended almost entirely on their yaks. A relationship going back 10,000 years. They provide transport. Their dung is used as the main source of fuel. And their milk is a staple of their owner's diet. Little wonder these hardy beasts are considered so precious. There's a local saying, wherever there's a Tibetan, there's a yak. But their immense popularity can create problems. The soil on the plateau is delicate, forming just a thin skeletal layer on top of the still growing rock. By the late 1990s, overgrazing had left 25,000 square kilometers of the Sanjiangyuan region virtually barren. Nowadays, yak grazing is banned in the core area of the park, and eroded habitat is being restored. Owners must now raise their animals sustainably, making each one more prized than ever. Today is a highlight of the yak herder's year. It's a chance to honor this enduring relationship at one of the region's yak festivals. Over 20,000 exhibitors and spectators gather from hundreds of miles around for 3 days of festivities, celebrating this cornerstone of their culture. The highlight of the festival is the yak race. These beasts are prime examples of their species. Running in the thin, high-altitude air requires enormous hearts and lungs, and 3 times the number of red blood cells than cows. Tibetans call yaks the Ark of the Plateau because they are so vital for survival. But with over 72,000 nomadic herdsmen living in the national park, the challenge here is to ensure that local heritage and incomes don't come at the expense of this vital ecosystem. There are many extraordinary creatures relying on the health of this fragile habitat, including the enigmatic palace cat. These are the world's fluffiest felines, with the densest fur of any cat. These grasslands are her larder. On the open plains, it's hard to hide. Success requires getting as close as possible. Its squat stature and low-set ears have evolved to give these cats a shallower profile than most, making them the masters of stealth. Only a lucky piker will make it to the end of a Tibetan summer. On the northeastern edge of the plateau is the Chilean Mountain National Park. Here, preservation of the environment becomes a global responsibility. Along its 1,000-kilometer mountain chain are 3,000 glaciers. But in just the last few decades, they've shrunk by over 35%. Climate change has caused temperatures on the plateau to rise faster than anywhere else in China. And scientists believe that some of these glaciers could vanish completely within the next 30 years. 5 million people depend on them for fresh water. So the effects could be catastrophic. The Chilean mountains have endured a history of dramatic change. On its lower slopes, these changes are revealed in an otherworldly beauty. The Rainbow Mountains. This natural wonder has taken its shape over 6 million years. Layers of sandstone and siltstone that once lay horizontal were thrust up and sideways by intense tectonic activity, creating the stripe effect. Each layer sculpted by the wind and rain. The deep red coloring comes from iron oxide in the sandstone's grains. Despite the glory of the landscape, the desert conditions make life challenging for this toad-headed agama. The lack of vegetation leaves him dangerously exposed. Burrows are the only way to survive. Without one, he'll freeze in the winter and be an easy meal in the summer. But right now, he's homeless. Unfortunately, each burrow is heavily defended. And the whole area is already occupied. He's going to have to resort to crime. He's identified a prime location. Using a distinctive tail display, he's hoping to scare away the current resident. This tail waving should work out who'd win a fight without needing to come to blows. But these two are evenly matched. As the tension increases, so does the tail waving. There's only one way to settle it. The thief moves in. With a good hole in prime territory, he is sitting pretty. Or is he? A new set of determined house hunters have arrived. While the agama's wider habitat is heavily protected, Other areas have not fared so well. Mining activity in the Chilean mountain range has resulted in severe habitat loss. But inside the national parks, this issue is being tackled. More than 100 mines have been shut down, and now the emphasis is on restoring the land. But it will take time for the scars to fade. The long-term plan is to restore the ecosystem to its former glory. China is currently the world's biggest consumer of coal. But their pledge to become carbon neutral by 2060 means many more mines will have to be decommissioned, providing hope for the future. Good news for all of the Chilean mountains wildlife. In its numerous lakes fed by the summer's glacial meltwater, there's a banquet. After their winter spent at lower altitudes, the black-necked cranes make the 1,600-kilometer return journey back up into the mountains. Where they can raise a family. These chicks are just a few days old. Nesting on the ground makes them vulnerable. So they're up and walking within hours. Foraging lessons have already begun. Worms and shrimps are staples of their diet. But the family must remain alert. Predators, like the Tibetan wolf, are a constant threat. Retreating to the water offers a bit more safety. As the evening draws in, the feathers will act like a down duvet during the cold night ahead. Each new generation is a positive step towards the recovery of this endangered bird. Protected within the park, it's hoped that the legend of these magical cranes descending into an earthly paradise becomes a reality. Throughout this region, there's a spiritual connection with the natural world. Local people believe that man must respect nature and follow its cycles, offering a blueprint for how people and wildlife can live together harmoniously. And over the centuries, this belief has driven and shaped their culture. At the highest peaks, prayer flags can be found in their thousands. Here, the wind will carry their prayers for protection, far and wide. Each flag color stands for an element of nature, and their prayers are helped by mighty creatures, mythical and real. These natural references are found across Tibet, including inside this monastery, isolated high in the mountains and surrounded by nature. Nanjo is on a personal spiritual mission. After his daily scripture study, he gets to work. He must help to feed the monastery's 120 residents. Today's menu is a simple noodle dish, in keeping with their minimal lifestyle. But Nanjo always saves the leftovers for a special visitor. Something stirs. An enormous Tibetan brown bear. It's one of the rarest bears in the world. Seeing this formidable creature so close sums up an important aspect of his beliefs. Tibetan bears spend their short summers fattening up before their 6-month winter hibernation. Nanjo is happy to give a helping hand to this resourceful bear, and the dogs are relieved to see him heading home. Life in such a starkly beautiful but unforgiving environment often means relying on others for help. This family of Himalayan marmots are experts at the art of survival. To avoid the harsh weather, they've spent 8 months underground in their 2-meter-deep burrows. For the new babies, life above ground is full of danger. They must rely on their parents to keep them safe. Each individual has their favorite patch of grass. They need to learn how to defend it. Mother's job is to keep watch, while Dad conserves his energy. Marmots are a favorite meal for many of the plateau's predators. The Tibetan fox mother still has her 3 ravenous cubs to feed. The young marmots would be perfect. Spotted. Now their father shows what he's made of. He's the hero of the hour. And the youngsters have learnt to be a little more streetwise. The fox cubs are also ready to learn some life skills. To survive the coming winter, they need to be able to hunt for themselves. It's time to give stalking a go. An unpromising start. They need a hunting masterclass from their mother. She's locked on. As a pouncing predator, she must get within a meter of her target. Each step matters. Finally, a meal for her hungry cubs. One fed, two to go. Summer is just one long hunt. In the autumn, the cubs will leave their mother and start their own story of survival. On this beautiful but unforgiving Tibetan plateau. With the natural world under greater pressure than ever before, giving animals space and a sanctuary is no longer a choice. It's a necessity. On the Qinghai Tibetan Plateau, fragile ecosystems like these must be protected for the benefit of all.